I'm really delighted to be asked to contribute to the opening of the UCU Left conference. My book, Nothing to Lose But Our Chains, has been shaped a lot by my experience as an activist and socialist in the UCU, and by the struggles that I've shared and the conversations that I've had with quite a few people that are here. I wrote this book out of a sense of irritation because there seemed to be a lot of hand-wringing and pessimism about the ability of working class people to organise in trade unions, come together and fight for things at work and in society in general. And although people were quoting a low level of strikes, which is undeniable, I looked around and I saw the most unlikely groups of workers getting together and winning some really important victories. Now, the book's divided into two halves. The first half takes on the myths about neoliberal capitalism that underpin this pessimism. And there are three that I'll mention very briefly. First, some argue that footloose capitalism has rendered workers powerless. Yet most jobs are rooted here. The National Health Service is the 5th largest employer in the world, and universities are really important industries for capitalism. Another tendency has been to try and divide workers by giving them different labels: knowledge workers, creative workers, amplified by the academy. But what this does is it makes work seem a lot more benign than it is and divides workers rather than looking at the exploitation that unites them. And finally, the idea of precarious work has been used as a lever to divide the working class, most notably in Guy Standing's The Precariat. And I argue that this ignores history, which has always been where work has always been characterized by insecurity, and also the fact that it lies in the heart of our system in care work and in education. And of course, I don't need to tell you that one of the biggest challenges in our sector is casualisation. The second half of the book, the meat of the book, is to look at how disputes over the last 5 years have had some amazing victories, and also how the working class has changed. So very briefly, I look at migrant workers and how they've been at the centre of struggles. Particularly, for example, I look at the David and Goliath struggles in London universities. The amazing fight by cleaners at SOAS for terms and conditions and to be brought back in house has been spread throughout the whole of nearly all of the university sector in London. Sometimes employers have caved in, sometimes they've had to fight. Struggles by women in Birmingham, carers won a huge victory against Birmingham Council. In Glasgow, a 2-day strike won women life-changing sums of money through them winning the equal pay that they'd been fighting for. I try and look at the games developers, the couriers, the hospitality workers, young people who've started to organise, and again, even under COVID, have managed to push back their employers. And finally, and what the UCU Left conference is about, is that the frontier of the working class has changed, and some of the most militant workers have been in education, in FE colleges, in universities where the fight for pensions has been so important, and where teachers have pushed the government back twice, forcing them back under over the issue of unsafely opening schools. So in the minute and a half that I've got left, I'm going to rattle through what I think the main conclusions are of the book. Firstly, building unions is absolutely critical, but that won't be done by offering discounted insurance. People join unions because of because they're doing something and they're organising struggles. That was illustrated over and over again in the people that I interviewed for my book. Second, action has got to be effective. Of course, we build for one-day strikes where that is all that's on offer, but we argue for escalating action, action that will really hit and bring our employers, put them on the back foot. And that we want to keep them under the democratic control of the people who are participating. In the Solidarity strikes in the Gdansk shipyard in 1981, negotiations were broadcast over the whole shipyard by tannoy. Why not do that with Zoom? Fourth, the importance of politics has to be writ large in workers' movements. And again, this was really clear in all the disputes that I looked at. Supporting Black Lives Matter, the fight against racism, fighting for refugees is not an added extra. It's central to the unity of the working class. And linking issues to wider fights, for example, on climate change, gets people involved and it gives them a glimpse of a different sort of society. 5, I've got 30 seconds left. Clever negotiators are not the people that win disputes. It's rank and file workers from the bottom. They can rebuild unions and they can win struggles. And activists in the workplace are absolutely pivotal. That means the people in this room. And the final argument that I make in the book goes beyond trade union struggles. And it argues that we need to win these struggles to build resistance and to build confidence. But we don't just want to negotiate the conditions of exploitation. We want to get rid of exploitation completely. And this means using the power of workers collectively from the bottom to effect a transformation of society.